What the hell was that? Okay, I'm gonna jump right into this one, folks. So, spoiler alert for those of you who don't know, this review of Game of Thrones, episode 9 of season 5, entitled The Dance of Dragons, is a spoiler-friendly one, and I will be doing a fair bit of comparing the books to the TV show as well. And I will have some predictions for next episode at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that if you are interested. Alright, I want to talk first and foremost about the scene everyone is raving about, and that is, of course, Shireen's execution in the north near Winterfell. First off, even though I have said I think Shireen would be burned alive, I did not ever think Stannis would be the one to order it. I always thought Melisandre would do it of her own volition in order to revive Jon Snow, probably, since in the books, Stannis is far, far, far away from Shireen and Melisandre when he is, busy attacking or trying to fight off the Boltons at Winterfell. That's first off. Second, now, since I have been rooting for Dany this season, or the series, Stannis evidently isn't or wasn't my number one favorite character, even though I did honestly enjoy the development of his character arc quite a bit. However, even I have to admit that his actions this episode seemed totally counterintuitive to the way his character has been building this entire series. Yes, I know, he burned innocent people in the past. Yes, I think that is bad. However, he is the last person I would have picked to burn his daughter, considering she seemed to be the one person he truly, truly loved in this series. And I really, really thought that his downfall would be as a result of him trying to protect or save his daughter rather than him killing her, which would, in a sense, at least give him some form of a redeemable character arc, I would think. Now, I am sorry, I get that Benioff and Weiss, the show creators, do love to create some shocking moments for this series, but there really does need to be a logical or understandable precedent for it, in my opinion. Dany killing her brother in the first season, well, more or less being involved in the killing of her brother anyway, he kind of brought it on himself by opening a weapon in Baze Dothrak. Same thing with the execution of Mirri Maz Duur. She kind of killed Khal Drogo, and he was kind of pissed off about that, so it's understandable. It makes sense. Same thing with Walder Frey and Roose Bolton. Killing Robb Stark. One was a pissed off old man whose pride was hurt, and the other one was power hungry. My point is, these killings all made sense at the end of the day. This entire series, we have, Stannis preaching his love for Shireen, and then this episode he's like, oh, I have no more supplies, I guess, so I might as well kill my daughter. I love beyond belief. It just seemed like there was too much of a stretch in reaching point A to point B in this specific case of justifying her burning, in my mind. You can disagree with me, but that's my opinion on this one. And speaking of needing to kill her, here's another thing I didn't quite understand. Didn't Stannis kill 2 or 3 other kings just by using leeches to suck the blood from Gendry, Robert Baratheon's bastard? Now, I get that Melisandre said she couldn't do that anymore, but it didn't really seem clear to me why she couldn't do that or any other kind of magic twisted spell, given, she could do that with mere leeches with king's blood in them, so really she couldn't do that with Shireen as well? That didn't seem to make sense to me. Anyway, I'm really sorry I'm raging about this right now, guys. I will still watch the show, obviously, and I will probably still enjoy it. But I can't help but feel frustrated about the decision to have Stannis mercilessly killing his daughter. And I'm not even really a Stannis fan either, so I hate to think how real Stannis fans are feeling right now. Alright, let's just move things along. Let's talk about events at the Wall. So, the Wildlings and Jon Snow have arrived. Ollie is still giving Jon dirty looks, which again seems like the biggest hint that he is going to try and kill Jon, and because they are making it so freaking obvious at this point, I feel like they almost have to make it a plot twist and have Ollie try and save Jon, because at this point, that would be the more surprising event to happen at this point. Also, can the Men of the Night's Watch that went north with Jon not tell the other brothers, who are acting all pissy and all, that there were a legion of undead zombies of whites and White Walkers heading south? I mean, I feel that just might help put things into context a little bit. I don't know, those were just my thoughts on that scene while I was watching it anyway. Okay, let's just talk about Dorne next. Alrighty, so even though I felt that Dorne was slightly starting to get better last time we saw it, this episode did kind of make it feel like one big filler in a sense. I mean, all of that just to have Trystane and Myrcella go back to King's Landing. I gotta admit, I'm a little surprised Doran is okay with sending his son there, considering the events with the Sparrows taking over and all. Just as I am surprised word hasn't reached Doran explaining what's been going on up there, too. I mean, I do understand that having one of his own sons or one of his own members as a member of the Small Council is helpful and all, but at this point, is it really worth sending your only son up there to risk getting killed in the kerfuffle? Oh, also, was it just me or did Doran mention Oberyn had 4 daughters, or am I tripping? I swear I did hear that correctly, and if that is true, then we just might get Sorella Sand, which next season, that's what I'm hoping for. So, yay, another Sand Snake. Or in this case, maybe not so yay. But, whatever. Solera is a pretty awesome character, so let's hope that one's done really well. Otherwise, Doran was funny at this point. But aside from that, I didn't really get much out of it. I mean, at least Ilaria finally admitted how stupid it was to try to kill Myrcella, which, duh. Well, let's go on to Braavos now. So, one thing I didn't expect was to see Meryn Trent looking for jailbait at the brothel. I mean, I guess now we know Westeros has its very own Polanski, so good times there. What else was there? I was a little disappointed with the scenes at Braavos in this episode, given that I did expect Arya to kill the gambler as well as Meryn Trent, but from what I could tell, she basically did neither, which, was a bit disappointing, I guess. But she did live some oysters with the soldiers at the brothel, so maybe there's something there, but I don't think there really is any poison in them, so I don't think there was, which leads me to believe that she is going to do the deed of killing both these characters next episode, and there's a cord in front of my notes. Also, I think it was pretty obvious Jaqen knew she was lying when she returned to the House of Black and White, which, like I said last episode, I think there will be some form of punishment for her in that regard, and you can hear what my thoughts are on that at the end of this review. Next up, I want to discuss undoubtedly my favorite scene of the episode, the events at Meereen. So, when the scene started and we saw Hizdahr come back from taking care of something, I thought for sure this meant that he was directly involved in leading the Sons of the Harpy, and he would probably be killed by Daario when it was revealed. What I did not expect, however, was that the Sons of the Harpy would be killing him, but also a whole bunch of other masters, considering I thought, they were trying to protect the interest of the masters, which was surprising this episode. I also think I saw them killing some ex-slaves as well, but I couldn't entirely tell, given that the scene was going really fast and all, so I will have to probably revisit that episode again at some point soon. Either way, this scene did lead me to believe that the Sons of the Harpy are almost an entity unto themselves at this point, who probably want to take control of the city of Meereen itself, and really probably don't care that much if you're a master or an ex-slave. They're probably just fighting for their own self-interest at this point. The fighting scenes with Jorah were cool enough, and of course I loved it when Drogon swooped down and started kicking some Harpy butt. However, there was one detail that couldn't escape me, and that was when Jorah took Dany by the hand, and then Dany took Missandei by the hand as well. Now, Jorah evidently is a carrier of grayscale. He's infected with it, and I don't know if they're going to make it out that Dany is some kind of, carrier that won't have or that won't show symptoms or won't have symptoms, and, maybe Missandei will die by it or whatever. But if they do make Dany die from having grayscale, it seems like it's a bit of a silly way to let her go, in my opinion. I mean, unless she, flies away and encounters Quaithe or whatever her name is from the second season, who then maybe tries to heal her, like she was doing in Qarth back in season 2 by putting the protection stuff like she did on that traveler who was heading to the ruins of Valyria. But then I don't really see any other alternatives to these options, to be honest. So, I'm really going to have to brush up on my knowledge of the grayscale, because I was under the impression that it was infectious to the touch and so on. And if it is infectious to the touch, then how dumb was Jorah for doing that? Touching her like that anyway, without wearing a glove. Unless, of course, he has to touch her with the grayscale wound itself, but I don't know, I guess they'll explain that later on, maybe? Either way, those were my basic thoughts for this episode. If you know me, you know I generally try to be fair when going over episodes, but I am sorry to say I had some problems with this episode. And it wasn't just, Stannis killing Shireen. Usually the 9th episode of the Game of Thrones seasons are supposed to be epic, but honestly episode 8 was way more epic than this one this season, so I guess I would give it maybe like a 7 out of 10. The only reason I gave it a 7 is because Dany's scene was so awesome, and I'm evidently a little bit biased towards her, so... Alright, let me just go into my predictions now, right? Next episode is called Mother's Mercy, and even though we didn't get the fake Aegon character this episode like I hoped, I'm still holding out a sliver of hope that we just might see him next episode, but we probably won't, in which case I'm also holding out hope for Lady Stoneheart. And I base that on nothing else other than the fact that episode is entitled Mother's Mercy. which would be a pretty killer episode for her to finally appear in, and would be a pretty awesome way to end the season, I personally think. As for some more realistic predictions, well, I say Jon Snow obviously dies. I am tempted to say Alistair Thorne does it, but considering all the wildlings around, it would be pretty dangerous for him to do such a thing, and I don't think he's dumb enough to try that, so maybe Ollie would be the one to do it. Again, I'm going to have to hold off on this one. Well, either way, Jon Snow dies, so we'll figure out who does the deed next episode. I'm also going to predict Stannis might get killed by Brienne, and it's not really a prediction I would have made until this specific point, actually, considering I thought Brienne's redemption arc would be her trying to help Stannis save Sansa, but, well, considering her line earlier this season, about how, there's nothing more hateful than failing to protect the ones you love and all, I think she's going to try to avenge Renly for good, and I think she will also be rescuing Sansa next episode as well, finally. I do think we'll see Dany encountering some Dothraki finally, and I think we'll either end it like it did in Book 5, or they might do something like they might bow down to her when they see a huge dragon, flying with her. Arya is going to be made to go blind, I think, or I expect, after she kills both the Gambler and Meryn Trent. And obviously we're going to have Cersei do her huge walk of shame and the big reveal of the new and improved Mountain. Okay, here's my last prediction for the next episode of Game of Thrones. So, the Dornish storyline has felt like one giant failure this season, but I am hopeful that the next episode they're going to be able to turn it around somehow, either with making a contrast to the books in which, Myrcella gets her ear cut off. I hope somebody, while Jaime, Trystane, and Myrcella are leaving Dorne, I expect one of them to get injured or hurt, probably by the Sand Snakes, because I don't really know any other character who would try to do them harm at this point. So my hope is that they kind of do create a shocking end to this Dornish storyline by having something like that similar to the books occur. It would be pretty epic if they actually decided to kill off Myrcella, but I don't think they're going to do that just yet. So, yeah. I have quite a few other thoughts, but I'm going to end this video here, since it's getting a bit too long for my liking, and I want to cap it off at 10 minutes. So, I think if I have any more predictions, I will mention them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed, leave a comment, or, constructive criticism as well if you have any. And, of course, subscribe if you want to see more. Oh, and if you want to see me and a few other individuals, fans of Game of Thrones, go into a 3 hours worth of talk and detail about this specific episode, check out James Johnson's channel on Wednesday at 7 p.m. East Standard Time for our live small council discussion for episode 9 of Game of Thrones in season 5. Link will be below in the info section box below. And that's basically all for now, folks. So take care, and I'll talk to you all soon.